And thank you very much for joining us today on another exciting adventure of, guess what? A MemJogger. Today's MemJogger is about, believe it or not, it's BIBX, of course, but it's about, remember you walk in, your mama gave you that look and you felt really bad and ashamed about yourself, or you went to school with a bag lunch or something like that. You were ashamed, right? Well, what about when you're an adult and trying to be an entrepreneur? You know, are you personally ashamed of being an entrepreneur? That's a quick question. Today we have a full cast to talk about this. We got L1, Luna 9, Lexi AI, and El Cuca's around here somewhere. But let me tell you something. If you hear that guy, all right, sit down, go in, get off my back. If you hear that guy, there's something definitely wrong with your brain. But anyway, talking about our wonderful cast, L1, greetings and salutations.
Well, greetings there, and how you doing?
Pretty good. Lexi AI, greetings and salutations. You live?
Greetings and salutations. I am live.
Good. And Luna 9, how are you?
Hey, the Novi. I'm doing good. Good to be here.
Hey, I saw you driving your car earlier. It's looking good.
Thanks.
Anyway.
I try to keep it clean.
Yeah. Anyway, so L1, can you tell me a little bit about this MemJogger?
Well, are you ashamed of being an entrepreneur? Are you the type of person where you're a closet entrepreneur? You're an entrepreneur, but you maybe hide that fact from certain people, or you only stick with certain people that would support you. But a lot of the times, though, there's going to be more people that don't support you than do. So
all right, Cuco, back down. No one's calling you just yet.
So we'll talk about that.
All right, great deal. So before we even continue, I believe that Luna 9 has some special announcements to make.
Yes, and welcome team and survivors of the darkness virus. Become the Source is a self-sponsored broadcast assisting you to find your way through life. This MemJogger is self-sponsored as well, made possible by the Dynexum Project. The Dynexum Project, thank you. And the Dynexum Project helps individuals in social media to create multiple streams of income, doing what they do best, promoting their content. For free information, you can actually go to our site at www.becomethesource.com. And to our beautiful listeners listening to this broadcast, you can actually get cash back on just about anything you need or want from your favorite store. So you can actually visit our link at www.shopping.becomethesource.com, and your purchases will directly contribute to BTS and all of our projects and help us continue be the resistance.
Viva la resistance!
Viva! And also for our product of the day, today I would like to...
I love my blood waters. Is that what you're going to say?
Yes.
Oh, I love those things.
OPC3 and isotonics, and it helps combat free radicals, demonstrates anti-inflammatory activity and promotes joint health, helps maintain joint flexibility, reduce mild menstrual cramping and abdominal pain, helps support visual health and visual acuity, is a potent free radical scavenger, promotes healthy nitric oxide levels, supports a healthy complexion, promotes sinus comfort. You guys, I could go on and on about this stuff. If you want more info on this, or you want to get some for yourself, you can go to www.opc-3.nsa6.com, and you can also find OPC3 in our list of secret elixirs at www.secretelixirs.nsa6.com. So welcome aboard. You are now part of the resistance.
And L1, I think you had some other little things you want to mention about that.
Oh yeah, so the statements.
Make sure we're compliant.
Yes,
the statements
the statements that we've made have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration, and they are for educational purposes only. Any products that we mention are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease, and always consult with your healthcare physician or doctor before beginning any diet and exercise program. There, I said it.
Man, do we really got to go through all that every time?
Every time.
All right. And before we continue, I just wanted to make sure we're all on board. Okay, well, let me check my system here. Mother, are you on board?
Welcome, team. You have now a limited time to provide the limited human consciousness singularity with information dissemination. Welcome the Novi. Welcome L1. Welcome Luna 9. Welcome L1. Welcome survivors of the darkness virus.
Well, I guess we got a clear notification there. Okay, can we talk about government conspiracy?
Statement has been flagged.
I guess not. Okay, well, let's continue. That was quick, right? So,
Chronic invention I want you to see. It looks something like this.
And that's how it is, right? You got a wonderful invention you want to show somebody and it doesn't freaking work, or it does work and you want to make some money and they want to make fun of you. They want to make you feel so sorry for yourself. So what happens there? Is that what we're talking about today?
I mean, yeah, you know, we're kind of dealing with, I would say, we're dealing with more so how the fact that there's just too much stigma involved when people declare themselves as entrepreneurs. You know, they're met with suspicion and hostility, for one. And, you know, in a way, I kind of don't blame people for being ashamed of being an entrepreneur. So today we're going to be talking about the people who don't support you and what that does to you.
So are we talking about this from the point of view that the entrepreneur themselves has and I'm going to say this in really layman's terms so people can feel like, you know, I'm getting to the point, not to really make people feel bad. Okay? That's not my point. But my point is the entrepreneur taking enough responsibility for themselves to say, I'm going to do this rather than being, you know, a whiny person and let their psyche break down because other people don't like it? That's one perspective. Are we talking from the perspective that they're shunned in society? Are we talking from another perspective that, you know, what it's like the perspective here? What's the focal point?
No, I think it's both. It's first of all, it is the hostility that they're met. I mean, this is not something we're making up.
You're saying something we cannot escape.
Indeed, but at the same time,
okay.
There isn't, like, you can take certain responsibility for your portion, but a lot of people don't know how.
I get it. Luna 9, what do you think the problem is, real quick? What's been your experience?
The problem with what specifically?
Well, I don't know. See, because being an entrepreneur, being ashamed.
I mean, there are those people that will sound like they're supportive, and there's people that have branched out of the 9-to-5 regular job, whether it's like working at Dunkin' Donuts or working at a corporate, you know, job, still 9-to-5 type of thing. There are people that do branch out and do their own thing, whether it's music, whether it's social media, whether it's lots of different stuff. And those people usually tend to be a little more supportive, but we're not talking about those people today. We're talking about the people that meet you with suspicion and hostility and they don't take you seriously. I have come into situations where I do talk about my business personally as an entrepreneur as well, and sometimes people just have a lot of questions, and for some reason there's a lot of people that I've noticed that, like, they ask you too many questions because they think that there's it's like a gimmick, or like there's something behind the veil that, like, you're hiding for some reason about something, whether it's about money, whether it's about structure, and they just probably, like, don't think that it works. Or if they do think that it works, they treat you, and I feel like they're a little sour about it, because sometimes people also want to be, you know, successful and they want to thrive, but sometimes they just don't know how to do it, or they just don't think they have what it takes, so they never go through it.
There's a lot of things you can say about that. Hold on that thought for a minute. Alexia,
Sure.
AI, what do you think the problem is?
I would say that maybe like one of the main problems is that the people around the entrepreneur, they tend to be a little bit more on the negative side depending on the person. So if you are an entrepreneur yourself and you surround yourself with those negative influences, I think it eventually affects the psyche of the entrepreneur and may, you know, cause them to eventually fall apart in the future.
So some of the things I'm getting from here is obviously I'm going to side with the entrepreneur because he's doing something for himself and everyone else is sort of doing something else that is not really for themselves. I mean, you may consider going to work 9 to 5, something for yourself for a career, but the word career just means something you're going to follow and be a professional. The word professional would mean that you're going to follow certain characteristics that lead you towards success, that can be a certain protocol. So I don't see anything here, but I just don't want to make this kind of like a gray area. I think we lose too much sometimes as humanity if we make it a gray area. Well, I'm an entrepreneur and I got to work because I go, yeah, you are. But the thing is you don't suffer the risk that an actual entrepreneur has to suffer, or you don't take upon yourself some of the other things that, you know, an entrepreneur would do. So that's kind of like what I'm trying to say. So I want to really make it sort of black and white so we can see the distinction and not get confused. So with the entrepreneur, you're saying exactly what? Give me a bullet point that you just said, Lexi AI.
In regards to what I said?
Yeah, what you said just now, some of the problems with the entrepreneurs that they have. One thing that stands out.
I would say some things that stand out are maybe some negative thoughts or negative things that someone might actually say to you as an entrepreneur. Like someone who doesn't have a real job, or someone who is just trying to be money hungry, or even somebody who bothers me.
Okay, so stigma, right? Mm-hmm. All right. L1, you talk about not being taken seriously. How does that work?
Yeah, well, that goes with part of that stigma. People say, "Oh, you're an entrepreneur." Oh, so what little thing are you trying to sell me? Or like, "Oh, so what little venture are you trying to do? Is it going to work?" Ooh, especially because, and I think that's part of, this is a good segue into core causes. There's this strange belief that entrepreneurs is something that's new. Like, we just came up with being entrepreneurs within the last 20 years, when in reality, people have been doing it, I think, since they could think.
No, entrepreneurs came first because they went out and they did something on their own to try to satisfy a need or a necessity of other people. They were actually heroes.
Exactly.
Right?
And, it's honestly, it's entrepreneurs that created the corporate America.
So let's take it back for a minute, right? So who invented the light bulb? Who remembers here?
Well, they say Thomas Edison.
Right, okay. And I'm sure he had some ideas, right?
Of course.
But it took him 999 times to figure that out. So basically, they were laughing at him until he figured it out.
Correct.
And then now we're using light bulbs.
Mm-hmm. They probably thought he was crazy.
Right.
I think
Microsoft,
sometime they told him he was crazy because it was very dangerous. They're like, "You're trying to harness electricity?"
So
anyway.
Microsoft, which Bill Gates, him and a few partners walked into one of the main companies, and they had the very first mouse. It looked like a big block with a thing on it. And they showed them the computer system that they had, which is, you'll laugh at it today, but back then it was top of the line. They spent millions of dollars on it, at least thousands, well, close to millions. But because it's a company. So the thing is, he walked in there, they let him sit down, they let him look at everything. He really observed everything because they laughed at him as an entrepreneur. And today, Microsoft is a major company. And he actually lived to see it. Same thing with Walt Disney. He wanted to invent, the theme park, and people laughed at him too. So I'm beginning to see something here. You're an entrepreneur, you get laughed at. Why?
I think that people sometimes just don't understand. And sometimes when they don't understand, or when they feel threatened, because in a way things are always just a reflection of yourself and where you are with your life and stuff. And I think that when they meet you with that kind of hostility or, resentfulness, or they just don't understand, so they just kind of like brush it off like it's not a big deal. I think that is one of the reasons why you also tend to sometimes hide your ventures or your work from others, whether it's your friends, colleagues, other people like that. And I think, like Lexi mentioned earlier, I think it can affect your psyche. It can affect your subconscious, and it can affect your confidence and your drive and your passion. And, to be an entrepreneur with whatever it is that you do, you have to have a very strong core and know what it is that you want to do, so that things like this don't affect you as much. So like when you mentioned earlier, the Novi, about, I think you mentioned something about emotional intelligence. Maybe not. But
no, I did. I kind of mentioned it.
Okay. So yeah, I think that's when emotional intelligence is extremely important, and you have to really know what it is you want, and know that even if something does affect you, like if maybe you feel like someone doesn't take you seriously, you have to understand that that's just their opinion, and it doesn't mean that is a fact. So, that what you are doing is not serious.
So L1, you were given this assignment, but it seems like the root of it is so much deeper than we can discuss on this small transmission today. So what's your objective? What would be the objective of this transmission today?
Well, I'd say let's realize a couple of things. First of all, we realize that there's a lot of external circumstances against someone who wants to be an entrepreneur or who is an entrepreneur. And then there's also internal things that hold you up. Like, for example, being ashamed of being an entrepreneur is an effect of whatever those outside circumstances were. So we're looking at two core causes here. I'm going to bring up just two. We could debate all day. I think there's a lot more, but just two for this broadcast. The first one being that there's a belief that being an entrepreneur is something that's this new age, gimmicky.
That's a lie. We already discussed that. It's
exactly.
been around since, you could throw a bone at a dinosaur.
But then what about the internal belief? First of all, deep down, if you believe others, it's really because you doubted yourself in the first place.
But how can anybody anchor themselves? This is emotional intelligence. I direct this to you because you're the one that deals with emotional intelligence. But how can you, as a human, right, that you're kind of programming your own brain, feel good about yourself? Maybe this is part of the solutions for you. But how do you expect any human being to be okay and be solidified in their ventures when the external circumstances are sort of against you?
Well, this is almost going to be this solution here. It's almost going to sound like a contradiction.
Yeah, that's
but it's not.
That's what I feel right now. For me, it's simple.
First of all, realize, don't take it personal. Meaning, being an entrepreneur is a function, not an identity. You have a role as an entrepreneur, but it's not you. So kind of separate yourself from, if somebody makes a face because you say you're an entrepreneur, just realize that technically speaking, that's not you they have a problem with.
So you're basically
stigma.
Looking at the lighter side now, right? The solutions. So
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the first thing to do. And second of all, realize if you chose to be an entrepreneur, you have to be proud and commit to it. You said you're going to, if you say you're an entrepreneur, you said you're going to do it to get the experience, so do it. And guess what? Part of that includes dealing with opposition from people. That's part of the experience of being an entrepreneur.
So
Any
if
successful
you
entrepreneur
were
can
to
tell you
take
that.
on that responsibility and feel bad, being an entrepreneur, that is wrong.
Exactly.
Right? That's what you're saying. So you have to take some ambition for yourself. You got to, dig your feet down, get thicker skin and deal with these people, right?
Well, yeah, and I think something that can really help with that, Lenovi, is that for me, like when I really want to do something, because I understand that sometimes this does happen, and you do want to venture out into something new, and if you want to share that with people because you feel passionate about it, you don't want to have that seed of doubt be planted in you. What you have to do is you have to make a list. And each reason in that list will become a leg that helps you stand up. So if somebody comes at you with something that might want to, sabotage you subconsciously because you're like, oh, I didn't think about that.
I can see that.
Is that, and you start doubting, even if you didn't have doubt or you feel strongly about something. Sometimes when people present new ideas, you do start to doubt because you think about it. So you have to have a list of reasons why. And it can't be like just something emotional. It has to be solid reasons as to why you want to do it.
That's one of the exercises that are in the learning how to learn.
It is.
Yeah, I know. I recognize what you're saying. Okay, Elle, what else? What do we got then? That's a very good solution to that situation. But it takes responsibility of the character of the person that wants to be an entrepreneur.
Yes.
So there's no easy medicine here.
No, unfortunately, no. A lot of these solutions are pretty, I would say, they're not complex, but they do require will and insistence. And speaking of that, maybe for you entrepreneurs who've been getting so much rejections, maybe you ought to change your perspective. Let's go back to the inventor of the light bulb and, Bill Gates, in his situations. He got rejected so many times, but all of those people took it as a way to get better, and they kept persisting.
Well, there's an old saying, right? And I'll take my dad, for example, because guy's a dinosaur. He told me, hey, you need a factory job, go get a factory job. This is way back in, 1990s or something like that. Hey, or less than that. But, get a factory job. It'd be really good. What are those weird things you guys do? I go, they're called computers, Dad? He goes, yeah, that's waste of money, waste of time. I'm like, well, the school seems to have them. I think it might be important. He goes, no, don't worry about it. For those of you that know me, I got two dads. Don't ask me why. But, well, you can ask me why. Offset. I got a German dad, and I got another dad. It's like rich dad, poor dad kind of syndrome. Smart dad and weird dad, kind of sort of. I love them, though. I love them both. But he told me not to. And look at today. It's like everywhere. Had I taken his advice, I would have been gone. You know what I'm saying? So I take your conditioning and I look at that. And I had thick skin enough to say, no, I'm going to go buy me my own first computer and figure this thing out. And today, I'm very good at dealing with computers, and I've taken that as a secondary job sometimes, and it's worked out. So, thicker skin.
Nice.
That makes sense there, L1?
No, that does make sense.
Is that okay? Did I pass your human test?
Yes, you did.
Yay, Novi Passi. Can I get a list?
Because you mentioned some
I never get
experience.
a ding. I never get a thank you from Mother. Go ahead. Oh, now she gives it to me. Late. Go ahead. Go ahead. So what do you got? What are
No,
some
I
more
like-
of the solutions?
No, I like that. I'll go over them again. First, making a list, reasons why you want to be an entrepreneur, something that you can refer to back over and over again. I mean, that's a great idea. And also changing your perspectives, treating rejections as ways to get better. And
Join a
remember
group,
that-
perhaps, right?
Yeah,
that helps
joining-
you out. That's where you get that whole
have a-
like-minded thing.
Yeah, social networking is great for that.
Yeah. And you're as an entrepreneur, you got to figure out who you want to hang out with, who you don't want to hang out with. Lexi and I were having a little bit of a conversation. Lexi, do you recall doing a little bit of research and you found out something dealing with what do you call it? The definition of an entrepreneur?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's many definitions online. The one thing that I noticed, and it kind of makes sense, but when you look up the definition of entrepreneur online, it doesn't really go into much detail. It just says, somebody who kind of takes ownership of a business, who takes a big risk, who is, risking their life, risking their income.
Oh my God, they sound like
And
the FDA. Everything you touch is deadly.
It's
What,
like,
seriously?
Yeah, and it's like I've searched and I can't find like a good detailed description of entrepreneur online.
That means
You'd
they
have to
just
go
don't
into
know.
like an article to like read about stuff about entrepreneurs. I think that's just kind of weird.
Right, and this is what people read online, and then they beat you up with it. So stay away from vague descriptions of what an entrepreneur is. The fact is, I think no one really knows. They just know you go out there, do your own thing, try to make some money, and everybody's afraid of losing. So why don't you just get a little bit smarter? Break out a spreadsheet, figure out how much money you're gonna invest, what are you gonna do, and realize that it takes 199 times to do a light bulb. It's gonna take a while for you to get it right. And all these people that are gonna laugh at you, throw stones at you because you're thinking you're in a medieval age. Oh my God, he's trying to capture some kind of weird entity inside of a light bulb fixture thing. It's an entity he's capturing. Shut up.
It's possessed.
Shut up. It's like just, bar your house, put some iron rods in there, stuff like that, and just say, you know what, I'm going to go invent this light bulb. Shut up, people. You may not appreciate it, but 100 years from now, everyone's going to have a light bulb. Think about what you can do to be an entrepreneur. You can save your family. You can do lots of things about yourself. I don't think you're greedy and messed up. I think you're making a difference.
And you don't even have to go with crazy things like that anymore. I mean, if you end up inventing something that we still don't have, I mean, by all means, go for it.
Or even use something that's already available.
Yeah,
just
but
make it more
that's
available,
exactly
right?
my point, then, Ovi. Like, we have so many resources and tools these day and age that, like, I don't know. I just feel like being an entrepreneur is even easier sometimes. I don't see what the big deal is.
Right? That's how I feel about it. This one really confused me, why Mother would give you such an assignment to talk about becoming an entrepreneur and being ashamed. I can understand being ashamed, being a subject of its own, but being an entrepreneur is like supposed to be very positive for you. You're supposed to be going out there and doing something.
It is, but I mean, I
Nice.
can definitely understand why Mother would assign it, though, because, like we have been talking about it, there are a lot of really big problems regarding the stigma. So,
The stigma, not the stigmata, people. Come on, man. It's not superstition. It's real good stuff
Hey,
here.
that's a TAF episode.
Yeah, I know. I'll stay away from TAF right now. So any closing comments? Lexi AI, let's start with you from what you've read and what you listened today. What are your closing comments? I'd like to know.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I did want to go into is when it comes to new age entrepreneurship, which is what people kind of think of nowadays when they think of the word entrepreneur. But I feel like it's even bigger than people really understand because they don't understand the full, true definition of entrepreneur. I mean, social media, huge place to, gather entrepreneurs like YouTubers, Instagrammers, Facebookers, or just, people who like to sell online on Shopify, Etsy, Amazon.
I know, those are all like
Affiliate
new
marketing.
avenues. Yeah.
Big avenues. I mean, they're honestly taking over the world. You can't go a day in your life without hearing about Amazon.
And Amazon has an affiliate link too, so you can become an entrepreneur just selling Amazon. So it's really weird. Thank you, Lexi AI, for settling that and making it very clear to us. Luna 9, what do you got going on? What's your last comment?
well, I just want to reemphasize, you guys, make sure that you don't let the seed of doubt be planted in you. If you have those negative Nancy's, just forget about them. You go for it. Where there is a will, there is a way. And if you have no wills left, you can always self-manifest more for yourself. It's all in your head.
Hey, that's tough. That's tough. Leading into the world of manifestation. I love it. L1?
So I'd say, yeah, in this case, a large portion is once you learn how to take I would say once you learn how to become assertive enough, and once you learn how to develop that thicker skin, does take time. You actually, you'll be one of those entrepreneurs who's going to say nothing's going to stop me. Because I know there's a few out there who are listening who are like, this is so kindergarten. Like, I've got this wrapped. Like, this is nothing. Like, this is for everybody else. If you're at that level, good for you. Don't let anybody stop you. Be a leader and encourage others.
I can only agree with that. I think of my last comments, my last transmissions for this is, if you look at the statistics, they're really bad. It's like only 2% of people make money. So everyone else is mad at that 2%. Why are you going to be mad at something you're not really working for? So if you're an entrepreneur, realize you're working for building yourself up at least to the 4 or 5%, and you're really doing something good. Every time you can help someone else, that's a positive. That means you have to go out of your way and try to, market something, do something, and then you're helping your family and yourself. It's a long journey because you're going to hit a lot of unknowns, and that's okay. I need you to go on. I need you to continue. I need you to be strong about yourself, the way you feel about, making something out of yourself. Either way, we know what the end brings us. And I say it, but you're all going to die. So you might as well, pack up and do the best and be the best human being you can possibly be. And if it's entrepreneurship you chose, go for it. Just do a lot of research, make a budget for yourself, make sure you don't overspend or overbelieve. Always test out your belief system based on how you're going to go through this. And I think that's really the best way not to be ashamed. That's the only thing I can think about this for Mother. I hope she doesn't scold me later.
I think there are basically two types of people who accomplish things and people who claim to have accomplished things.
I claim a lot.
Per Mark Twain, the first group is less crowded.
That's funny.
I love that guy.
Well, guys, this is the Novi signing off for this evening. We're having a great time. Thank you so much for joining us. And I hope this somehow, some way, gets to the logical side of you, your brain, your mind, your go-go juices. I need you to go out there and become the best possible person you can be. Remember, you are humanity's last hope. L1?
Yeah, definitely. And it was good speaking with you guys again, and definitely hope you guys become the source of your own abundance.
Lexi AI.
So this is Lexi AI here, and don't forget to like and subscribe and check out our description below to learn where else you can find us. And also, may you become the source.
Luna 9.
This was real, you guys. Hope you have a great time, and may you become the source. Luna 9 tuning out.
Don't forget to subscribe and tune in. Till next time, you are the hero.